those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all Nerds International. With the hyphen.
The Murder Hobo Show presents the Savage Rifter Podcast.
Oh, where are we?
Oh my god, there's a robot!
What?
It's
Run away!
running! I don't know what's happening.
Oh, it's like we're falling through rips in the time-space continuum.
Look out, we're in the middle of water!
There's only one way through this. Are you with me?
Yeah.
We must fight.
The Savage Rifter Podcast.
Shoot, man, hit the button, smash it, let's go.
Here we go. Welcome to the Savage Rifter Show, Episode 8, The Burster. I am one of your hosts, Gary the Murder Hobo, and I am here with none other than world-renowned and infamous riff superstar, DJ Jazzy Diaz of the Savage Riffs G Plus community fame.
Game on, Gary, game on. I didn't know I had my name changed. I should have brought on my DJ headphones and everything else. But yeah, as usual, you guys know this podcast is for the fans and by the fans. Tonight, we have a special event going on. We may have to do this more often. We have a couple of the folks from the Google Plus community that have signed on to the Discord server that we have up for Savage Rifter Podcast, and putting out the questions out there, and hopefully everybody's listening. And if you guys have something you want to say or something you guys want to voice off of for those whole 2 people that we have on the server, so guys, let us know if there's anything you guys want us to extrapolate a little bit more on. You guys have any ideas on?
Yeah, feel free to send Victor all the text messages that you like and tell him how seductive his voice is. Maybe I think there's a way that you can even send pictures and stuff like that. So if you want to get greased
we can
up,
actually do video if we want to get complicated.
right? If you want to get greased up and take your shirt off and send some pictures to Victor,
that's another show. That's the third show after midnight we filmed tonight. That's
from the 12 to 1 o'clock hour.
You missed your calling, Gary. You need to be a radio DJ.
Oh, this is a podcast all about Savage Worlds riffs. We break down Savage riffs piece by piece so Victor can teach me and you, the listener, how to play, enjoy, and understand riffs. Well, we've kind of already discussed what we're doing tonight, and I'm going to have to edit that so that we don't have to keep correcting ourselves. But what are we doing today, Victor?
Drum roll, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we've gotten to a new section of the Tommorow Legion Players Guide. We're going to be starting out with the first psychic powerhouse. It is your favorite and mine, the Burster.
I'm sure it's somebody's favorite, and there's a real fire element to this character, but I'm excited to get into this because I'm assuming that this is going to be the first of like the heavy DPS classes for Savage Riffs.
Yeah, exactly. The Burner is notorious for being able to put out a lot of firepower. A lot of people have called it a glass cannon because unless you really buff up the stats or toughness or something to be able to increase its survivability, yeah, you can put out a lot of damage, but you can't take it. That's one of the concepts that we had, or one of the conversations we had on the Google Plus page, I think maybe a week or 2 ago, where we were talking about how this one GM had a player that had maxed out all of the edges and all of the right numbers, and it just started rolling with it. So we can talk about that more when we get into it.
Fantastic. Yeah, Savage Riffs, when they sold this box set, it should have come with like 5 extra sets of dice for all of the rolling that I'm imagining that you're going to be doing with this class.
Especially for the Burster. Between that one and the Glitter Boy, right? All the D12s, all the D8s, all the D10s that you're rolling for damage all the time.
Yeah, coolness. All right, so let's keep this short and sweet. We're going to head over to news from the Riffs.
Hey there, Mr. Suit-wearing guy. Yes, that's me. Don't I know you from someplace before? Yeah, I do know you. What's new with you, man?
Well, I suppose I can tell you what's new.
From the Rifts.
So first thing on the list today is I'd like to say welcome to the newest members of the Rifts communities. We've got 535 members. So awesome. I feel like Jerry Lewis here trying to pitch, I need more membership. I need more money, but I don't get paid for this. I do it for the fans and by the fans. That's what it's all about. I'm a big love of games, and you guys know how it goes. I put out as much as I can into it. But 535 members is what we have going on right now with the community. absolutely awesome. I can't say thank you enough. All of you guys are active all the time. I swear, I think I've talked more on the Savage Rifts community lately than I ever have in the past, and that's just absolutely great to see that community go on.
So if you're Jerry Lewis, does that make all of the community members Jerry's kids?
Yeah, you're all Victor's kids from now on.
Oh man, that's spectacular! All the special
The stickers will be mailed.
all the special
Everyone can
folk.
have one as a bumper sticker. You told me that you were going to be going to Con on the Cob, right?
Yes, Con on the Cob, November 9th to 12th, days in Richfield, Ohio. If you're in the area,
so
come on in
jealous.
and say hello. Cool thing, something that came up. Well, I've actually known about it for a while, but Eric has finally released it. Head on over to the Wild Eye. Listen to episode 35, I believe it is. When Savage Rifts first came out, I thought it was going to be the one setting, the kitchen sink setting, that would keep me from having to learn the history and background of all the other settings. And at the time, the guy that runs Nerd Haven, Jason, a good friend of mine there, he was telling me about riffs and the old Palladium riffs and stuff like that. He had all the boxes of material and stuff, and he was telling me all about it. He was super excited and whatnot, and I like to support my local gaming store. So what I did was I signed up for the riffs, just the PDF style format of it all. And then they came out with a box set, and I think I might have accidentally clicked "Give me that too." and then
That's an expensive click.
And then I like to support my local gaming store. So when all the books came in, because I had the all the PDFs and stuff, I bought all of the books. Also, he gets them ahead of time because he was in the whatever they had a merchant thing there for it so anyways, I ended up with a bit of extra stuff, and by a bit of extra stuff I mean like a whole bunch of books and a few extra box sets. So we got a contest going on in the Wild Eye where it's quite easy. Unfortunately, I'm going to make you go over there and listen to the episode 35 where you can find out all about it. But here's the tie-in. Con on the Cob, I'm going to take my box set and I'm going to have it signed. And we're going to be giving it away in the Wild Eye. And all you got to do is write in like an idea for a one sheet. You don't have to write the one sheet, just an idea. Submit it to the Wild Eye, send it to Eric, and then me, Harrison, and Manuel are going to vote in like a blind vote. We won't know who it is. Only Eric will know who. You send it to Eric, he gives it to us, so only he knows, but we won't know. And then we're going to be giving away a Savage Rifts box set, the entire box set. The Bennies, the Players Legion. What else is in the box set? I don't know where my box set is.
So that's the combination of the Tommorow Legion Players Guide, the Game Masters Guide, and I believe it's the Coalition Forces of the Coalition, right? The box has a nice little slipcase over it.
It does?
If you guys haven't seen this thing from the Kickstarter, it is awesome. The maps, the Game Masters, what do you call it? The shield or whatever.
Yep,
all
the
that stuff.
The
is gonna be
GM
on
screen.
there. That would be great.
I think that's in there, and I think that it even has the bookmarks. Like
the bookmarks. The bookmarks are boss. I use those in all my gaming books for all of the other games that I play in.
Yeah, I just kind of hid them in my Playboy magazines so that my kids would think that they were just like RPG books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Okay.
All right. So anyways, that's happening. Head over to the Wild Eye, episode 35. You can listen to that one right at the end. Eric explains the details, and I'm not sure when that's happening, but yeah, we're going to give away. Hopefully I can get it signed, which I'm sure I will. If not, I'll forge the signature because Mr. Fannin is going to be there.
Those, right?
So yeah, I'll be giving it all away, which is really cool. It's like $100 value, and all you got to do is write something dumb on a piece of paper or an email and send it to Eric.
Nice. So when are you guys going to be announcing those winners? I'll tell you what, the next time we do the show, how about you announce the winner right here on the Savage Rifter?
Yeah, Eric will kill me.
I was waiting for that answer. Yeah, he would kill you. But tell him you'll announce it there first, then you can talk about it more.
Going to be what's happening. So, you see what I just saw today earlier on there on the
Now,
on
ladies
the post.
and gentlemen, this is news to me, Gary, because I haven't been keeping up. I've been literally working myself to the four winds here. Ladies and gentlemen, this just came across my board, and Gary's the first one to tell me about it. Sean Masters, who is the podcaster responsible for the Voice of Hope podcast, he is retiring the podcast. Tell me about this, Gary. I mean, what's going on?
I don't 100% know, but there was some stuff that was posted on the boards about 30 minutes ago. He said he was trying to get his, it sounds bad when I say he's trying to get his life together, like his life is apart, because it's really, maybe he's just looking for some more free time or something, but personal issues, I guess, and he's going to put the Voice of Hope podcast on hold for a while here, which is a little sad because I really, really like that podcast.
Yeah, I totally enjoy the podcast. If you guys have never heard it, I think he's got about a dozen or so, maybe a little bit less than that, podcasts put out there into the world. Really creative and awesome ideas of what he's putting out there. He does a little narrative at the beginning of the show, and it's kind of like someone radioing in, or he's picking up radio signals and someone's reporting what's going on out in the world of Rift's Earth at that time, all in character and stuff. It's some really great creative stuff going on. Sean, I hope you're listening, or when you hear this, give me a shout out, give me a holler, let me know if there's anything I can do. Hopefully he's just pressing the pause button so he can get, his personal life together. And I can totally relate to that. Sometimes Gary and I have to juggle the balls around. Sometimes Gary and I have to juggle the balls around. Sometimes Gary and I have to juggle the balls around, to juggle the balls around, to juggle the balls around, to juggle the balls around. Sometimes Gary and I have to juggle the balls around.
Yeah, boy!
You know what I'm talking about, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to find the time to record a podcast, let alone find time to play, find time to write, find time to post stuff on the community. So it is time consuming. I can totally relate. So Sean, hopefully this is just a pause, and a couple of months from now, you'll get things back together. Don't worry. We'll all still be here. We'll wait for it.
Yep. Sometimes you got to juggle the balls to play some RPGs.
It's what it takes.
Next on the list, number 5. This is amazing, dude. The Savage Rifts annual. Like, I can't believe how fast you put this together.
Yeah, I can't believe how fast I put it together either. But I don't know. I've been doing stuff like that. I've been writing and putting together books and publishing, and I do a lot of that stuff, not only for work but on the side. And I work at a computer most of the day, so I just kind of hack at it here and there, and I'm pretty disciplined when it comes to spending 20-30 minutes on a task, and then later on that day or the next day another 20-30 minutes. You'd be surprised what you can do in half an hour. Juggle the balls around every day for 30 days. Next thing you know, you're 27 hours into a project, and you're like, wow, it's done. That's kind of what I do with that. I've been hacking away and saving all these files and saving all the downloads and stuff that everybody submitted, Patrick, and just a bunch of different stuff that's on there. And I'm still getting people sending me their updated versions or, revisions that they've had some game play test with. And I'm just throwing them in there because the communities, I've done some of it. I've done maybe 10 pages out of 8 or so or more that are in this Savage Rifts annual. So it just absolutely surprised myself that we managed to get it put together. But I just put the first work in progress out there, kind of like the beta of it all. And I was telling all the community, you guys have until November 30th to submit your conversions, your iconic frameworks, your vehicles, your power armors, your magic spells, whatever you want to throw in there that all has to do with Rifts. I can get it in the annual, because after November 30th, anything that gets submitted, well, it'll go in the annual for 2018. And hopefully we can do this every year and just kind of post it on the boards. And I'm not making any money out of this. I don't get a single dime. There's no advertising or nothing, because a lot of it is proprietary. So I just want to perpetuate the machine that we've been doing with the community for the last 2 years or so, or year and a half, however long this thing's been going on, and just kind of keep doing what we're doing, grow the community, show everybody out there that there's some really creative people that have been playing games for a long time, that we are the bread and butter. We're the ones that are buying all this stuff from all the publishers, and I want to show them, hey, we can do it too.
There is a lot of material. It's insane. I mean, we went over it last time, and there's 20 different discussion groups, or not but different sections of it and stuff. And
we could easily turn that into a whole nother 3 or 4 podcast show, maybe if and when we get through the rule book.
Yeah, I was just sort of
10 years from now
flipping through it, and it's just within the last week. You've got the Temporal Mages. You've got Dustin Smith. He came out with his character showcase for the Archangel. Somebody did an OCC conversion for this flooper that kind of looks like Cupid, right? And it's just those are just 3 things that have popped out. I'm sure all of those are going to be stuffed into the PDF. And one of the shout outs.
We're getting there. There's a lot of stuff being added. There's a lot of changes being made to the to the current drafts of some of these. Some of the guys are looking over material that they forgot they even write, or they even wrote, and they're sending me, second or third drafts going, hey, I've played this for a while now. You need to change this rule.
Uh-oh. I lost you a little bit there, mister. That's all right. We'll have to edit that little bit out. You're fading in and out. Where are you, Victor? Have you been sucked into a rift?
No, I came back.
Okay, there you go. There you are. Yeah, so Dustin Smith, anything can happen Thursdays. The last one was actually pretty funny. While on a diplomatic mission, a traveling roadshow consisting of exotic food trucks pulls into town. There are ancient and foreign delicacies being sold. I like that. From the Chi-Town Burbs, a red and white truck selling something called hot dogs. Is it a sandwich? Is it a wrap? Who knows? But yeah, it goes on. You're gonna have to. I'm gonna force you to go to the G Plus community and read all about it. But yeah, there's a new Quebec Glitter Gorge 3000, and it's a glitter boy that has like poutine cannon and stuff. Dustin
that was
Smith,
written just for you, Gary.
I know.
For you.
It's fantastic. The poutine cannon is just the best. So much good stuff on the Savage Rifts community. If you haven't gone over and signed up yet, get on it. It is top notch. So that said, let's get over to the meat and potatoes of this bad boy so that we can do a few other things tonight that I'm very excited about as well.
Game on, dude. Let's go.
Nexus points.
Psychic powerhouses. DPS time. These iconic frameworks represent super powerful masters of psionic energy.
Burster, Mind Melter, and yeah, that's the only two in that section because the rest are Masters of Magic.
So yeah, we only got two psychic powerhouses.
For this one, they are just psychic powerhouses.
Fantastic. So the Burster, what's the deal? Some just want to watch the world burn. I've played with players like that before. That one guy at the table all the time is the one that you just want to snap his head and kick him in the arse and tell him to get lost. You know,
yeah, the one that's always rolling the dice going, come on, let me hit something. Come on, let me hit something.
Yeah, these
guys are great. I mean, I love the Burster for everything that it represents. You were talking about a big DPS guy. Yeah, this is exactly what it is. I mean, they're pyrokinetics. They can telekinetically accelerate molecules to the point of ignition. So everyone's seen the movie Firestarter, I'm assuming, or you've heard what a pyrokinetic can do. These guys can pretty much engulf themselves in flame and shoot out flamethrowers, balls of flame, bursts of flame, bolts of flame, light things on fire, and they get all giddy and happy when they're surrounded by a house that's on fire. That kind of, firebugs that they are.
Nothing is quite as fun as burning things down in RPGs, not in real life. In real life, that's kind of crazy and dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Keep attending the classes, Gary. Keep attending the classes.
I have what do you call that when you're allowed within so many yards of something? That's me in matches. Just kidding. I've never burned anything down. How dare you?
Ladies and gentlemen, he has a restraining order from the gas station. He's not allowed to put them in cans anymore.
That's the word. I have
that's all we're going to say about that.
Restraining order for matches. As major psionics, bursters also have access to other psionic abilities. That's kind of cool. What else can they do?
Yeah, so I mean, the fact that they're a pyrokinetic is really, really great because they can do a lot of heavy damage and all that fun stuff. But pyrokinesis, the ability to be able to create, move, and increase or decrease flame, is a mental ability. It's a psionic ability. So in Rifts, they also have the ability of most of the major psionic stuff. So all the other powers that are in the book that are driven by psionics, which can be just about anything, they have access to all of that. So you can get one that flies. You can get one that can put up, shields, that can create force fields, that can talk to machines, use telepathy, throw their voice, just all kinds of crazy, put up illusions, all that stuff that a normal psionic would be able to do. They're considered a major psionic. So that means they have access to all the mega powers, just like a leyline wizard would or a mind melter would.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. If Dustin Smith's food cart, if you were a burster, you'd never have to worry about how you're going to heat the food up. You just look at it and your hot dog's cooked, your poutine's warmed up, your cheese is melted. That's the way to go.
That's the only way to eat it. Yeah, that's the only way poutine can be eaten.
That's my character. I'm going to be a burster that owns a food cart and travel the countryside solving mysteries and helping the poor like Robin Hood, except I'm not giving my food away for free. I need to make some dollar bills, yo.
All you need is a food cart.
That's
or a food
right.
truck.
Hero's Journey
That's
is
awesome.
is 4 rolls. So you're going to get 3 rolls here on the Experience and Wisdom table or the Psionics table.
Yeah, and then you're going to get one additional one, but you're not going to be able to roll on the cybernetics or anything that have to do with magic because you already have pretty much all the magic power you're going to need in your psionic abilities. Now, you notice they only get 4 rolls. A lot of the other character classes that we've talked about in the past, or the iconic frameworks, they've gotten 5.
Yeah.
And that's because of the level of power that the Burster has. They're kind of reducing the amount of equipment and the things that he has available to him from the very beginning. Because if you don't know, a Burster can put out like 6d8 points of damage, if not more. Yeah, and that doesn't include some of the mega powers and some of the edges. You get yourself in the right situation. You get a Burster in the right situation with the right edges and powers, you can easily be rolling 8 dice in one attack. I've seen it done. It's absolutely ridiculous when he can protect himself from the firepower of a glitter boy.
Yeah, leave it to Riffs to make me have to buy 8 sets of dice to play the game. That's nuts.
Gary,
Walking.
you can buy them separately, Gary.
Hey, I've been playing this game for almost 35, 36 years. Trust me, I have way more than 8 sets of dice kicking around my house.
Yeah, you're not a true gamer if you don't have enough dice just by yourself for everyone to use at the table.
Yeah, so there's a section here called Walking with Fire, and again, the writing is fantastic. Bursters have a personal, emotional, and or almost poetic relationship with fire that extends beyond the physical facts of their powers, which is really cool because that in itself is just like, you just imagine somebody just sitting there and just continually like playing with a fireball and rolling it around their hands, like, you know, those street magicians do with the balls and stuff, you know, catching, like the soccer players where they're kicking the balls and they catch the ball behind their neck. I'm just imagining somebody doing that, a Burster doing that with a fireball, just like playing with fire all the time.
Yeah, it's bordering on psychotic, you know, the amount of pyromania that they have. But Bursters are really cool because what a lot of people don't know and that they haven't really played Bursters this way, and it goes into it in depth in some of the original Palladium books on a Burster. They can't just, you know, it's not just throwing fire, it's not just making fireballs and making the room explode or whatever, but they have the ability to, like, just like ley line walkers can get on a ley line and they can see who's within a couple of miles and what is touching the ley line. They can do the same thing with areas that have been burned, or if there's a particular fire, or if there's something that is still lit or not lit. They can go through like a burned out building and they can tell you where the fire started, what was used to light the fire. They can sift through the ashes and they can tell you how many people were killed, how many people survived, if there was blood in, you know, before, after. They can smell, taste, and feel the flame and the ash, and they can tell you all kinds of information about what's gone on in a lot of detail. You know, not just how it burned, but what put it out. Did it burn itself out? Did an explosion do it? Did, you know, fire suppressants were used? Did someone use an accelerant to create the fire? Was this done by an explosion? Was it gas? Was it, you know, whatever it may be? They can give you a lot of information like that, and a lot of it comes from their psychic abilities.
That's very cool. I was not aware of that fact. I didn't know Bursters could do that. And a lot of times inside RPG games, there's always something getting burned down somewhere. So that's
usually
really
it's the PCs doing the burning.
Yeah, the murder hobos. They're just out slaying everything. Unsurprisingly, though, it says here that they are utterly impervious to heat and fire in any form. Lightning and electricity have limited effects. And what else did it say? Since the heat and burning aspects of such energy are of little concern. Wow. So that's kind of cool. So you basically, if anybody casts a fireball at you, you just kind of like laugh at them.
Pretty much what one of my players did when we were playing Palladium Rifts back when I was a lot younger, because I haven't played Palladium Rifts in a really long time. What they did was they called them the human bick. Because literally, like, they could flick their finger, light it on fire. They could dip their hand in gasoline and light it, and it wouldn't bother them at all. They could walk through a flamethrower and just laugh, like, you know, the coalition would be getting a big flamethrower ready or whatever, and just launching a big old area, burning it all to hell. And you see this one guy walking through it, scares the bejesus out of the coalition because they know they can't do anything with him. Then you shoot lasers at him and lightning bolts, and if you're lucky, that guy has some type of protection, or, you know, he's completely inflamed to where he has his own armor rating or a really high MDC category. So he gets hit, he gets knocked down by the laser shot, whatever hits him, but then he gets back up and keeps walking. It's just absolutely eerie when the burner gets that in his head. They're going, hey, they can't hurt me very much. At least until you walk up to him and smack him in the head with, stick. That usually works.
Yeah, fire might not work, but here, try this freezing cold spell, and then they do double damage or something.
That's the thing that I was telling everybody on the Google page. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, where everybody thinks that the burners are real. Excuse me, not the burner. The burster is a really difficult class to play or to play against as a GM. To bring up other things with. But you get him into melee combat, he's not going to be that great of a fighter. Even if he has the right skills and abilities, he's still not going to be able to take down someone like a juicer in hand-to-hand combat. It's just not going to happen. There are very few things that can take a juicer on in the game and survive or at least be effective against it. When the juicer gets his hands on him, just knock him on the head, and next thing you know, he's down. Magic. There's a lot of things that magic can do that fire can't touch, that fire can't mess with. Particularly if you instead of putting the force field around yourself, you put the force field around the burster. He'll be able to flame all he wants, but usually they can't do enough damage fast enough. The MDC of that force field will be able to keep them entrapped in that thing, and they won't be able to move from it. And a lot of people don't think about reversing that and casting that protective spell on the individual. Granted, you won't be able to shoot him through the globe, the globe of invulnerability or whatever it is that you cast on him. But what a lot of people don't know is most of the time when you cast that protective shield, it says you can cast magic into and out of that shield if you're the caster. Well, if that's the case, then that means your spells will go through it, but his fire will not.
The next section in this deal is an energetic mind. So this just sort of touches on the psionic abilities. This kind of just is a couple of paragraphs that sort of give you the feel of how the character should be played. It states things along the lines of most of your psionic powers are going to be like the manipulation of psionic energy in a physical way. So you're usually casting spells that will have effects in the physical world. You wouldn't be able to do things that would be like mind control and stuff like that, is what I'm getting from this. A burster's list of available powers is also fairly limited compared to most psionics, and they typically have to stick to fire and heat trappings found in Savage Worlds, but it does say that they aren't required to use them. And then it gives you the list of spells.
Yeah, so the list of abilities and powers that it can use for psionics is not as big as it is for the Mind Melter. Because, I mean, it's like, the Mind Melter is like a Leyline Wizard, right? They're the ultimate psionic force or iconic framework in the game. But backing up a little bit to what you were saying about they're not having to use or required to use fire as one of their trappings. One of the things that I was talking about in the Google Plus group the other day when they were talking about the GM having a problem player with this burster that's just killing everything that he has in front of him, I told him, just make a burster, and instead of using the fire trapping, use the ice trapping. There you go. You have an instant, yin to your yang, and he can be able to counter just about everything they're going to be able to do. And it's really going to make the player pissed off because it's going to be hard to be able to manipulate or damage or hit or affect that other enemy wild card, particularly if you want to make him a wild card, make him a recurring hero or make him a recurring villain and have him go after him, or maybe just another hero that doesn't like him very much and force them to work together.
Yeah, no, the last episode that we did on the Wild Eye with the it touched on the exploding dice and taking your hero out of the game in in one round or whatever. When the dice ace, your hero goes down, and it's like very anticlimactic is what we were talking about. I really like the idea of having a recurring bad guy. You might have taken him down the first time. Well, the problem is if you're playing a burster, though, I just started to come to think of it. We're just going to go over and turn this guy into ash. You're basically like a portable crematorium, right? Just want to make sure this guy never gets up again as you torch him and, burn him into charcoal.
Exactly. I mean, you got to be able to use those powers against your enemies or against your friends, depending on what kind of game that you're playing. But you're right, and that's not the only thing that you can do, though. Just because you're using the fire trapping, the ice trapping, you can have, instead of him being a pyrokinetic, make him like a poltergeist would, a telekinetic, where you can move things and force dirt and sand or air. You can almost take pretty much any element: earth, wind, fire, ice, water, all the different elements of the world, and turn them into a burster. People talk about that one cartoon where they have martial arts mixed with elements when they're fighting. Gosh, what's it called?
I don't know. I'm going to let you ride this one out solo and see how long it takes you to remember. And then we're gonna leave this in post edit.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, you don't have to take just the one trapping that's there. I mean, you can take all kinds of different trappings. You can take light trappings. Instead of him being a burster with all the fire or the pyrokinetics, you can have him take light, and he could be like shoot laser from his eyes, like Cyclops from X-Men, or he can shoot plasma energy from his chest, kind of like Cyclops' brother. Same kind of stuff. You can change that up. Just change the way it looks, smells, and tastes, and you can use the same rules.
Yeah, if I was to make a burster,
it's all up to you and the player and how the GM want to come up and play your game.
Yeah, I would make the burster, like at least my personal burster, because I like to play stupid and idiotic stuff. He would be like, he would always eat like beans or like Taco Bell, and his bursting powers or trappings would all be like coming out of his butt.
Mm-hmm. Methane. That works really well when you have a match.
Yep. The problem with that is my burster, if I was to make him, he wouldn't be able to ignite his own stuff. So I guess he really wouldn't be a burster. He would more like, he'd be just bent over with his pants down screaming, okay, light it.
That would be so funny. You should play that in your new game that you're going to be playing on Sunday.
I do love Stu. Well, that's what that whole game is based on. Kartar is just the most idiotic, retarded thing. Anyways, that said, bursters' abilities and bonuses. So bursters are minor burning deities capable of striding across the battlefields of a rift-torn Earth with only their powers at hand to take on terrible threats. I love it. I just love it. It's written so well.
Yeah, the writing is great. I don't think people give Sean Patrick Fannin and all the other guys who put this together with all the different material and everything. It's just those kind of one-liners are stuff that you can write whole entire campaigns and base them off of that. I absolutely love it. That's one of the fun things I love about Savage Worlds. The quality of the writing is just excellent.
You just imagine.
So it goes on to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you just imagine being the last lone survivor of your party, and this is the person that's coming at you. This burster, hands behind his or her back, the great big balls of fire. The eyes are just on fire, and they're just looking at you with hatred in their eyes as they stroll across the battlefield. They're like, "You're dead," and then
The part that you have to worry about, though, is the smoking crater that you left behind that you're walking out of as a burster. You got to make sure that your party members are not the ones that are dead in there with you. Sometimes the burster has that habit. He'll light the entire, battlefield on fire, and then he realizes, oh, shit, there was all my friends.
Arcane background, 20 psionics points. What do we got? So ISP. I liked PPE in the ISP.
Inner strength. Yeah. Inner strength points. It's pretty much your power points. You get 20 of them to start, and you get a D8 as your psionics base skill. So you can add points to that when you create your character, and you can make him even more powerful than that. I've seen guys, just bump that up and put it into D10 or D12 space, and it's absolutely absurd, some of the things they start to pull off.
Yeah, rolling D12s out of the gate is brutal.
Out of the gate, badass, and you get to pick 3 powers from that short list. Everything from armor and dark sight and farsight, telepathy. Like I said, you can have him do all kinds of crazy powers and be really, really good at it. There's not a lot. That list is not very big, but again, the few powers that you're going to get, you're going to be an absolute badass with them on top of the pyrokinesis stuff that you get for free.
Yep, there's some good ones in there. Armor, which is cool. You trap that and fire. You've got this great big fire shield that ignites around you and protects you, melts bullets as they come in and whatnot, which is pretty cool. Blind, you trap that as like like hail kind of would be like little fire ash or something is what happens when you cast it on your character, which would be really cool too. Dark sight, that's that's just seeing at night. Yeah, well, there you go, right? You have like fire vision. Everything at night that you look at looks like it's actually like on fire. The old Predator style infrared would be pretty cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, and fly. There's
that's just, you can go on and on and on about the powers and how you can detail those out with them. It's just absolutely amazing, some of the stuff you can do. And when you start changing the trappings around, everything from laser beams and lightning bolts to fire bolts, it's not going to matter. It's all going to mechanically do the same thing, but you're going to have lots of options as a player.
Yeah, flying. Who's the flame guy from Fantastic Four that can fly? Anyways, that guy, right? So fly, pretty
It's him and
straightforward,
Torch.
man. Yeah, you just light yourself on fire and away you go. Check me out. I can fly around, which is pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
pretty much. Yeah, that is pretty cool. It's a free flight, and it'll never go away. As long as you have power points, you'll be able to fuel that.
I'm just imagining you're a falling, burning meteorite crashing in the ground when you run out of energy. Everything burns. What's this all about?
So this just means that you can catch anything around you that's on fire. You can catch anything around you on fire. Anything combustible, clothing, weeds, wood, pretty much almost anything. Everything will burn at a certain temperature. But you as a burster can cause damage with your flammability. You can roll, I think it's a D10, and just, instead of the usual D6, as you would under the Savage Worlds rules for fire, because normally you would roll a D6 and anything that can catch fire, when you roll a 6, it'll be, it catches fire. But as a burster, you can roll a D10, and anything from 6 through 10, if you roll 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 on the die, it'll catch fire. And anything that's highly flammable, like, gasoline, propane, methane, it'll catch fire on a 3 or higher. So the likelihood of you to be able to generate enough heat to be able to catch those things on fire is more likely as a pyrokinetic.
Yeah, that's very cool. While you were talking, I was just looking up the fire deal. So I'm going to go to situational rules. What does fire have to say? Fire damage. Now, why would you be spreading? I guess is what it falls under. Anytime something flammable is hit by fire, you roll a 1d6, and on a 6, the target catches fire. Very flammable targets.
When a burster rolls to see if anything catches fire, he gets to roll a d10, and anything on a 6 or higher on a d10 catches on fire. Because you're so good at lighting fires, you know how to focus that heat and that energy to be able to get that thing to light on fire.
Yep.
And if it's flammable, you're even more likely to catch it on fire than you normally would be able to.
Yep. It says right here, very flammable targets such as scarecrows catch fire on a 4 to 6. So I mean that right now you're into like the 40 or the 60, 40 to 60% percentile of catching something on fire.
And a burner will be able to light anything that is highly flammable on a 3+ using a D10.
Savage Worlds is really savage because the very next line says a person soaked in gasoline catches fire on anything but a 1.
Yeah, and the fact that they had to put that in the rule book is what I think is hysterical.
Right? That's kind of
someone's going to try it.
Or has, or will, or that'll be their go-to all the time. You're going to be a burster walking around with like a flask of gasoline. Some excellent ideas. My tanker truck. Yeah, screw the food cart. Let's get a tanker truck and gasoline out here and just get her going.
So for those of you guys those of you guys on the listening to us today, if you guys want to keep up in your rule books, we're on page 32 on the top of the second column. It's talking about water superheats and evaporates almost instantaneously on a 10 when you're trying to evaporate water, or boils over in 2 to 6 rounds on an 8 or 9.
Yeah, that's
depending
fantastic.
on what you roll, you can even affect, which, as you know, is a really good coolant.
Yeah, you want to shut a truck down, right? That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Victor, you're crapping out on me here, buddy. Where are you, my man?
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Testing.
Yeah. Here we go. You ready for this? That's a great idea. Oh, I lost you again.
Where do you want me to go with it?
No,
you lost me mentally, physically, emotionally.
So you were talking about lighting boiling water, and then you said vehicles, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. You could like boil the radiator in a vehicle coming at you, and it would just like instantly shut it down.
Great idea.
What? Are you stealing my lines, bro?
Sorry, the light bulb went on. It was a little dim today.
Oh.
No, that's awesome. That is a great idea. One of the things that you can do is you can boil the radiator over in any normal vehicles while they're moving along. And as you know, if a vehicle doesn't have water, it's going to overheat and stop in just a short amount of time. So it's just one of the few tricks that you can pull out of your sleeve, quote unquote, for the burster. But it goes on to talk about fiery aura. Now, this is the one that absolutely kills me every time I play with someone who's when I'm GMing and I got someone who's playing a burster. A fiery aura in an action, the burster can surround himself in a sheath of flame and heat. It causes 3d6 damage to anybody around him or anybody who touches him. He can also add this damage to any fighting attack he makes. Okay, now hold on. Drum roll, please. To activate the aura provides +6 to the burster's armor. And it doesn't cost any neither affects his cost for ISP.
That is freaking
So
crazy.
if you spend 3 points, you get to activate the fiery aura. The damage becomes mega damage for 3 points. So you can now add a 3d6 in mega damage to your hand-to-hand attacks. Stop and think about that for a minute. A chainsword is 3d8 and mega damage, and you're telling me that a burster with his fist can punch 3d6 mega damage.
That's a whopper.
So.
Yeah, that's a whopper of a punch. Plus, it gives you the armor boost. When the aura is activated, you get a +6 to armor. That's cool. And it stacks with the armor power, but not with worn armor. Even cooler, man. Because of the armor
so you
power.
can get your leyline walker, or you can even have your own armor power as a psionicist, because he has major psionicist, he can cast the armor power on him. And then when he lights up the fiery aura, spend 3 points to make it mega damage, and it'll add 6 more points onto the armor because he's not tough enough already.
Yeah, insane. Wow. See, every time we go over one of these bloody characters, I just want to play one. I just got to say it. Like that would be just cool. Like to super light shit on fire. Pardon my French there. I'm going to beep that out. But to like all of a sudden be like all fiery, and then you get the armor bonus, and then you're casting spells and doing all this damage.
Yeah. Bullets and grenades are ricocheting off you, and plasma weapons and laser weapons are bouncing off you or burning up in the flames around you. Yeah, it is pretty cool until the juicer comes jumping over the hill behind you and swaps you upside the head with the back of his rifle butt. Next thing you know, you're on the ground passed out, and there's nothing but a smoking heap left of you.
Why you got to burst my bubble? Maybe I'll burn that stick.
Because it happens. People get all happy and get all cocky, and they think, oh, yeah, I'm a burster. Nothing can hit me. And then, that one sniper rifle round from the 50 caliber rifle that, one month shot, somebody has to call a headshot and rolls some absurd number like 48 and, pretty much nicks you through the eyeball, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Riffs is like a big old game of... Yeah, Riffs is like a big old game of paper, scissors, rocks, eh? It's like this one takes out this one, takes out this one. Dice. Fire mastery. What do we got here? A large burst template centered anywhere within 12 inches. The burster can create, control, and eliminate fire.
Yeah, you can also create like small fires or heat effects. Like you said, you can heat a stove or an oven, or you can create, a little bit larger effects like heating a plate or a piece of metal or a doorknob or things like that. And that's all like free actions. You don't even need to roll that.
Yeah. So this fire mastery thing would be sort of the part of, it's not really part of the everything burns. This fiery mastery thing is the skill that you would have that would allow you to light or boil the water and stuff like that inside of a radiator.
Yeah,
it comes from this.
So anything within 12 inches on the board, so 12 squares, and I believe that's something like close to like 40 feet or so, you can concentrate your power and you can create, control, or extinguish any fire or heat source.
Wow, this is
space.
Yeah, this is sweet, dude. As an action, you can create an environmental effects that will impose a -2 trait, -4 with a raise. So you've got, like I was saying before, you're kicking up ash or sparks, like into their face and stuff like that. So anything they do, your opponents over this 12-inch within 12 inches large burst template. And you can kick this up and make ash and stuff like that. So you impose a -2.
Yeah, even if you're in an area that's like that maybe doesn't have, that's really clean, like say a coalition jail, or you're out in the middle of a yard that's all concrete floor, like on a landing strip or somewhere, and there's not a lot of material like sand, dirt, metal, trees, bushes, things like that for you to fling around or make ash or make fire. All you have to do is generate heat. You can generate oppressive heat that'll just soak up the atmosphere and the dampness around you and make it extremely uncomfortable for people in non-sealed power armor, body armor, or just standing near you. It's like opening a kiln, and that first blast of flame that comes out, or that blast of heat that comes out, you do not want to stand in that. It'll permanently give you a tan.
Yeah, you're just making people uncomfortable all the way around with that -2 roll. That is great too. Large burst template, and
a
12
large
inches.
burst template, and it costs you 0 ISP points.
Yeah, it does
There's
require
no
your
power points
action
to do
though.
any of that.
Yeah, it does require.
It costs you an action, but that's a small price to pay.
Yeah,
it's a very small price to pay.
Man, you do that as one action, and well, the beauty of Savage Worlds, man, multi-action, right? And
Exactly. Take
we're
the
gonna do that
multi-action
something else.
penalty. What's the worst that can happen? Just roll more dice.
Right on. Firewalker. So the burster is completely impervious to all sources of fire and heat. That is very cool. He could take a deep dive into a river of lava and come out unscathed? Seriously?
That's correct. He can, and he also takes half damage from lightning, half damage from any kind of electrical attack. So, someone's going to be smart and say, oh, I'm going to walk up and hit him with a taser. Well, you're going to have to hit him 2 or 3 times before he goes down because he's not going to be affected by that as much.
Have you seen
he's immune. You heard me right, ladies and gentlemen. He's immune to plasma weapons.
That's crazy. What's next? What's this next one we got?
Oh, Flame Bolt, everybody's favorite. So Flame Bolt, everybody knows this power or ability in Savage Worlds. It's a 46 damage, a range of 12, 24, 48. Nothing out of the ordinary, except for the pyrokinetic or the burster. He gets to cast it at no cost to his ISPs. Wow. And it just happens to be mega damage as well. So you're casting a 46 damage bolt at a short range of 12 inches, and it's mega damage. And then you can start adding on ISP points to make it, armor piercing +2, +4 for every point of ISP above that you spend. All kinds of stuff that you can do. But it does say when you roll a 1 on the psionics die, when you make the test to see if you can get it off or not, when using the flame bolt does not result in brain burn. So normally whenever you use psionics and you roll a 1 on the skill die, the psionics ability skill die, if you roll a 1, you suffer from brain burn, and you get like this massive huge headache, and you start to take damage or lethal or non-lethal damage depending on how it's played and how the GM wants to handle it. But because the psionicist or the burster is so good at it, and he has this natural tendency to light things on fire, whenever he rolls a 1 on that psionics die, when using the flame bolt only, it does not result in any damage caused by brain burn, which is a really big advantage because you pretty much turn into you're shooting small fireballs out in all kinds of directions all the time, and it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't. You can make them really small and sharp and get into armor and pierce different parts of the armor and increase the armor piercing by putting more energy behind it. Absolutely awesome.
That is really cool. Free, and Bolt is a crazy wicked spell. Like, some of the deals inside of Bolt there, you can cast up to like 3 different bolts. Plus, you get to target like individual people with each one of them, or you can send out one major bolt spell that does like like 3d6 or something like that.
Right. Exactly.
And that's just in standard rifts. But this also has the added feature of doing double the bonus damage, or double the bonus for the same cost when you're on a ley line. So you can pump it up to 4 AP or 8
for 2 ISP points. You can turn it into a 4d6 mega damage flame bolt with 4 armor piercing points, and it has the chance to light something on fire, and you get to roll a d10 to see if it lights it on fire.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And you're totally immune to its effects. Oh, and if you roll a 1 on the psionics die when you're trying to do that, you don't suffer from brain burn. So you're pretty much that guy, juggling fireballs and just pitching them one right after another like baseballs at your target.
Yeah, I would, if there was a couple of guys rolling at you, maybe say 3 side by side, they got their baseball bats, their pipe wrenches, and they're coming in to give you a good solid smackdown for whatever reason, and you start casting your flame bolt, doing all of this damage, and then lighting you hit the middle guy, and then the 2 on the outside just burst on fire because you roll a 10 on your ignite die. There's some fun to be had there. There really is. It's just everybody's going up in flames, and you're just chuckling.
Yeah, now everybody's probably thinking, yeah, this guy's pretty cool, but what's the point? I mean, this means that he pretty much becomes a machine gun of putting flaming bolts all over the place. Well, there is a caveat. One of the powers that the burster is allowed to choose from, one of those powers is not bolt. So the only ranged attack that the burster gets, in addition to these extra powers, is flame bolt. Because if you look on page 32 in the first column, it says bursters can choose from the following list, and bolt is not one of those powers.
You couldn't take it as an additional.
So you are giving something up, right? You are given some of that flexibility that the other mind melters and all the other psionicists and the people who can do those sonic powers, you're giving up that flexibility to be able to cast one pitch and flame bolt. You just add on a few extra bits, a few extra ISP, and next thing you know, like I said, you got a 4d6 damage, mega damage, 4 AP flaming bolt that can light something on fire. And like you were saying earlier, if you're on a ley line, you can spend an extra point, you can increase the range to double, or you can add 2 ISPs and you can make the range be 10 times normally. So you're like a catapult, flailing these flaming skulls at your target, 300 yards away. And if you just happen to be on a ley line, all of that is doubled. So now you're times 20. So your short range for a flaming bolt is 240 feet.
That's the power puncher right there.
Let me rephrase that. That's 240 squares.
So you're basically shooting it as far as a glitter boy could shoot his cannon into the next city.
That's far, but yeah, dude, you're shooting into the next county. I mean, it's far. You're slinging these things better than any catapult could. That's awesome.
Last but not least, the burster abilities and bonuses is major psionics, which is so they start with the major psionics edge, which is cool. That gives you extra 10 ISP instead of 5.
Right, that's a freebie.
What's the rest of this deal? You're able to spend a couple of points for some other stuff?
When we were talking about it earlier, I was telling the number of extra points that you can do. So you're able to spend 2 points of ISP to add 1 to your psionic roll. Because you're a major psionicist, you get that ability. So when you're making that, that wild die in that psionics roll of D8 or whatever you turn out to be, you can spend 2 points to add a bonus to that roll. If you spend 4 points, you get to add 2 more. And you do all of this before you make the roll, of course. Now, if you want to, you can add another point of ISP to double your range for any range spell or any ranged power that you have. And if you want to spend even more power points, you can spend 2 more ISP to make your range times 10. So you can do the same thing on a flame bolt. And if you are sitting on a ley line, guess what? All of these last 2 effects, your range can be doubled whenever you're on a ley line. So if you spend 2 extra points to make your range times 10, well, now your range is going to be times 20 because of the ley line.
That's
and you get to do that to any spell that has a range that is considered a range spell. So if it says the range is self or the range is touch, you cannot use that Master Psionics ability on it. But otherwise, if it has like Flame Bolt, a range of 12, 24, 48, you can multiply that by 2, by 10, or by 4 and 20 respectively if you're on a ley line. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Definitely the kind of character that you want to set the battlefield with. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like you want to be near that ley line.
Earlier, you don't have to use flame. People got to get out of this kick of thinking that's just the way it's written. That's the only way I can play it. Imagine a character who's a burster and he uses shadow or darkness, and instead of balls of flame, he shoots out bolts of darkness. Or instead of an area being engulfed by flame, what it's if engulfed by these black tentacles or arms that reach out that are made of shadow and just burn you from the cold. And when you're when you kill people with shadow, their skin turns black and they're not charred. They just look like they're not there. Like it's just a burn mark on the ground that appears to be a shadow of what was left over of them. That kind of stuff you can do, and mechanically you still roll the same dice. Instead of a flame bolt, call it a shadow bolt. But it does the same damage, it does the same range, it does the same AP. For those of you who are novices or just trying out role-playing games, try to change it up. Try to make it different. Try to make the character more something that you can become familiar with, or just get creative with it and make up a water burster. You'd be surprised the stuff that you can do and the things you can get creative with. If you have a good GM, he should be able to pull some stuff out of his hat and be able to work with you on that. So try that next time, because the burster is a great class that's really small and really narrow, but it has a lot of options once you start ripping the labels off of it.
Yeah, if you could be like a water and soap kind of burster, maybe blow
shoot
some bubbles. Yeah, but the guy that you kill is always like, he always ends up dead and clean.
Dead and clean, but totally soaked.
Yeah, right.
I mean, if you want to get wild with it, right? If you want to have some fun with it, you can do practically anything, and it doesn't have to be elements. Like it'd be light, it could be stars, it could be lasers. Just go crazy with it and figure it out. Bubbles is a great one. That's awesome.
Yeah, the my favorite part of the show, the burster complications. Not that the burster complications are the favorite part, but anytime there's a good part, there's got to be a bad part, and the complications are my favorite. What's wrong with these guys?
This is where we narrow the field, man. This is where we narrow the field from all the other benefits that we get. This is where the hard stuff comes. So the first one is cybernetics. Yeah, it's just not a good idea. It says to go on they interfere too much with his powers, so he tries not to use them. If for some reason you get your arm blown off and you have to have a bionic addition to be able to get the use of that limb back, your point of strain, each point of strain imposes a -1 penalty to your skill. So I believe if you replace an arm, I think that's like 3 points of strain, if I'm not mistaken. So you would have a -3 penalty anytime you make a psionics roll. So you can imagine if you have someone like the Leyline Wizard that I was talking about in episode 1 or 2, or he lost his legs in a battle and now he floats around everywhere. Well, if he had gotten those legs replaced with cybernetics, he would be having one heck of a time trying to get his psionics to work consistently. He could still use them, I'm sure, but with a -3 or -4 penalty for having both legs replaced, there'd be a lot of bennies flying. That's all I got to say.
The enemies. The coalition considers bursters a dire threat to life and property. I'm really not liking these coalition guys, Victor. They seem like real dicks. I just got to say, they don't like anybody.
I think you're catching on.
They're just not nice people.
Yeah, you know what? Bursters are really cool, but unfortunately, when everybody thinks of someone who's a pyrokinetic, they instantly think of the fire starter little girl. You know, everywhere that she goes, people die and they burst into flames and houses burn and entire villages, entire city blocks are decimated. So everybody has a natural fear of fire. So as the coalition feeds fear. So anytime they can bring that up to a higher level, well, they hunt down bursters like there's no tomorrow. They go after them almost as quickly as they'll go after ley line walkers.
Yep. A quirk, pyromaniac. I guess it kind of goes with the territory, right? If you're constantly lighting things on fire, you're going to be labeled as a pyromaniac.
Yeah. 2 words: sociopathic arsonist.
Wow.
That says it all.
Yeah. Bursters
they like starting fires. They like watching them burn. They watch them with fascination.
Yeah, you've just taken out that gunner or something like that. You're just, this is what I'm picturing. You're in this field, in this clearing, guys coming at you on one of these like flying, scooters or whatever they're called. Like you would know it there, and you light him on fire, and as he like lights on fire, he's this flaming ball, and you're just kind of watching him as he coasts on by, all the flame, and then crashes into the
exactly. One of the stories that I like to share with everybody about a bursters. I had a guy who was he wasn't really a pyromaniac, but he liked to play this burster like there was no tomorrow. So here's the situation. There's, the party's taking on some of the coalition. There's this old tank that they've remanufactured, the big laser tank, and it's supposed to be smaller, faster, better, bigger, badder, and it's supposed to take on, or at least be able to defend itself from the railgun used by the Glitter Boys. So the Glitter Boy takes a long shot, and he's like 1.5 miles away or something ridiculous, like an extreme range, and this guy's rolling for his life using bennies and like, I just need one success, and he finally does it, and he hits the tank, right? And he does enough damage to disable the tank, but it doesn't blow it up into pieces, just one big hole on the side, and it's smoking, and so the pilots start opening up hatches and starting to jump out. Well, of course, the pyromaniac being what it was, he concentrates his heat power on all of the hatches, so it forces them to come up with all the smoke. They can't breathe on top of it, right? And the metal's heating up from inside the tank. So these guys come up, and as soon as they come up, the burster just lays into them with a big old flamethrower right over the top of the tank. And the tank's on fire, and the guys are half in and half out, kind of reaching up, trying to, to the air, up. I mean, they're burning to death, right? And, a couple of bodies are charred, and they die, and they pass out or whatever, and they're laying over the top. And one guy, fully engulfed in flames, jumps up out of the top of the turret. And the pyrokinetic and the Glitter Boy are just watching this from a short distance. The coalition soldier pops up, and his helmet's off, and his armor's torn to shreds, and he's like wailing, and you can kind of hear him flailing and blood curdling in his lungs. And then his head just pops, just explodes. the freaking burster's laughing and gassed up on the side of the road, rolling over and over for a turn. He's taking penalties because he's just like really going into the character, and everybody's like, what are you laughing at? And he's just pointing at, they're going, did you see? Pop goes the weasel. And we're like, dude, somebody needs to check him. That's like totally freak. But he loved it because he was playing his character, right? He's a pyrokinetic maniac. He likes to watch things burst into flames. He thought that was absolutely hysterical.
Yeah, he asks me for a ride home when the session's over, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I don't think so. I'm going the other way."
Somebody check his lighter. Yeah, for sure.
Which way are you going? Oh, I'm going the other way.
Yeah, so to finish up, we're going to talk about a starting gear. You're going to get a laser pistol, the generic survival pack that everybody gets, and you're going to get some money. You can't go worse than that.
And the last and final touch. The final piece of this pie is one of these cool little sections that they put in here that just kind of give you the fluff of how to play this character, how to survive, and how to thrive as a burster, which is super cool. So the first one is your hero is a fiery super being. Less variety of abilities, more raw power over flames and heat. Embrace and run or fly with it. There's two other ones.
Right. The second one is don't forget the iconic edge that greatly enhances your power. There's lots of edges that are going to be able to enhance your power by adding SP, adding different options for your flames to be able to control them or do lots of other fun stuff. So don't forget to look up all those different iconic edges.
Yeah, are they talking about something specifically that I'm not grasping there? Don't forget the iconic edge that greatly enhances his power. What are they referencing?
Psionics. So the Master Psionics, whenever you spend 2 ISP, you can add bonuses to your roll.
Gotcha.
You can double the range. You can multiply the range times 10. You can also add ISP points to be able to give it +2 armor piercing or +4 armor piercing for your flame bolt. You can augment a lot of your powers just by spending a few ISP points.
Yeah.
Or you can go look at the different edges that the major psionicist abilities allow you to do. Because sometimes you need to have arcane background in psionics to be able to pick a certain edge. And sometimes you can pick an edge like that'll give you, instead of, you start out with 20 ISP points, but you can pick an edge that'll give you 10 more. I believe it's called the PowerPoints edge.
Yeah, extra PP.
Normally it'll give you 5, but because you're a master psionic, you get 10 more. So if you spend one edge when you create your character, instead of starting out with 20, you have the potential to start out with 30 or 40, because you can take that edge, the PowerPoints edge, multiple times. And a burster with 40 ISP points, that's scary. That's like, machine gun, rail gun, glitter boy kind of thing. That is scary because you can literally be popping off major powers for 10, 12, 15 rounds at a time. And then all you have to do is just get 8 hours of sleep. And guess what? You're all good to go.
I can't see you today because we're on Discord, but I can hear you snapping. Something is going on. Somebody's making some extra noise at Victor's house.
That was me snapping my fingers as I was talking.
Oh, okay. So the to survive and thrive last one is, at the same time, don't ignore his potential in other areas, including rescue and investigations. That's a cool feature that they put on this guy, the ability to read the burns and stuff like that, because so many times in RPGs it's fire that takes things out, at least in fantasy. Do you know what I mean? It just seems to be like
fire, explosions, lasers. A lot of the times you can read, based off the direction, the burn, the size of the burn, the angle at which it hits the body, the way it leaves the body. If there's blisters, if there's no blood marks, if there's burn marks around the body, you could know that there's an explosive used, a laser used, a single shell used, a flaming type of attack was used, or the opposite, a lack of oxygen. Maybe something else kept the fire from burning real hard, or maybe the fire burned really hot and you find that a plasma grenade was used or something like that. A lot of that stuff might be important, especially considering how much combat is a big part of Rifts.
Yeah, what a great way to give this character that little bit of little bit of oomph.
Depth, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, fantastic. That's the perfect word for it. That little bit of depth, which is really neat. There's a little saying here that I keep reading. It says, "I am the light that casts back the darkness. I am the fire that cleanses the stain of corruption. I am Burster, and my soul dances in the flames. Fire dancer, Burster." I just like that second line. "I am the fire that cleanses the stain of corruption." I imagine my wife repeating that line as she washes my underwear.
She doesn't wash it. She just burns it and buys it all the time.
She's a burster. She just takes it out back and lights it on fire. You know, I'm going to tell you a sad story. You know those little Japanese jumping fish? I can't remember what they're called, but everybody has them.
Yeah.
When my kids were young, they die so frequently, but my wife would just, she always checked these stupid things. And if they died, she would just go down and buy a new one and then put it in there. Like she would just try and color match them. At least they're close. And my kids didn't know for these fish that usually die in like a month or two were living like
for 4 years
because my wife just kept replacing them. I feel like she does that with my Ginch. That said,
awesome. That is so funny. I love it.
We're going to wrap this one up. We kept that short and sweet, dude. We're at like an hour and 10 minutes, and I probably am going to be able to cut out at least 10 minutes of stupidity.
Yeah, 10 minutes of, exactly. 10 or 15 minutes of all the nut stuff that we were doing. That's funny.
Okay.
Yeah, Gun Bunny Fufu's been listening the whole time. I know he's been on the boards a couple of times on a bunch of different stuff. So thanks for hanging out with us, Gun Bunny. I appreciate it.
That's very cool.
We're going to go ahead and start closing this up and finish up the editing and then go on to our next special feature podcast kind of thing.
That's right. So, section 4, into the fray.
Whoa, bloody hell. Oh man, I love this guy. Do we have to go yet? Yes? Oh, please. Of course we do. We've got work to do. Please can we stay just a little bit longer? Stop it, Jeffrey. Right, come on back through the rift there. Fine. Can you hear?
Well, the sweet sound of that rift opening means it's time to pack up and portal out. I don't want to Thelma and Louise this anymore, and I probably should have wrote something in there a little more stimulating. But give us some contact information, and we're just going to cut her short and get her done.
You can reach us at the murderhoboshow@gmail.com or get us on Twitter if you can keep it under 140 characters at the Murder Hobo Show, or of course over at the Google Plus page, Murder Hobo Show under the Nerds International banner. Thank you so much, Nerds International and Gary, for everything that you guys do for us. And you can also reach out to myself, Victor Diaz, directly at the Google Plus Savage Rifts page, where the community has been and will always be active as long as I'm around.
Yep. You just give it that special touch of activeness, that poke, that prod, that thing that it needs. You got anything you want to throw out there? Anything you want to fluff up? Anything that you want to... here's something that I want to throw out. If you haven't watched it yet, go check out Victor and his actual play where he did... it's called something... Last Flight of the Red Sword? Is that what it was?
That's correct. Last Flight of the Red Sword. Awesome playtest that we did for the index card role-playing game for Hanker and Farnell over at Runehammer Games. Absolutely love that game system, and we had a blast playing that up for a couple of sessions. So if you guys get a moment and you guys are tired of looking at all the other ugly faces on YouTube, you can look at my ugly face and all the other guys that were out playing that. Just check us out. Look at it. You can find the ICRPG at the Runehammer YouTube channel and just look for Last Flight of the Red Sword. If you type that in YouTube, I'm sure it'll come up pretty quick.
Yeah, super cool. Be sure to check us out on the Wild Die, and don't forget to go in and throw in your entry, man. Try and win that free box. It's $100 for that box set, and we're giving it away.
Yeah, easily. If you're talking about retail, I think that box retails at like $230 with all the bonuses and extra stuff. If you went out and bought everything, a piece at a time or separately at your local friendly game store, it's well worth it just to put together a one-liner. I may enter it.
It's not wrapped in gold, bro. Simmer down.
It's made of gold. It's made of gold.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Tune in next time. We're going to have another action-packed show. Super crazy. All right, we're going to put a pin in this one right here. Thanks, everybody. We're out. The Murder Hobo Show is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and for educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Murder Hobo Show, copyright 2017, all rights reserved.